The theater lights were soft and low, like the quiet glow before sunrise. The stage of America's Got Talent waited in silence, polished and wide, holding years of dreams inside its wooden floor. The audience murmured gently, their voices blending into a calm hum. Somewhere behind the curtain, a young man stood still, breathing slowly, listening to his own heartbeat. His name was Daniel Reyes, and tonight he carried more than a song. He carried a memory, a promise, and a voice shaped by distance and time. Daniel was born in a small coastal town in the Philippines, where the air smelled of salt and fried rice, and radios played old songs late into the night. His father loved Elvis Presley. Not the loud, flashy Elvis from posters, but the quiet one from vinyl records, the one whose voice felt like a hand resting gently on your shoulder. When Daniel was a child, he would sit on the floor while his father cleaned fishing nets and sang along to "Can't Help Falling in Love." Those moments were simple, but they stayed. Years later, when his father passed away, the songs stayed too, echoing in Daniel's chest like unfinished conversations. Life moved on, as it always does. Daniel grew older, and the world grew heavier. He worked long hours after moving to the United States, sending money back home, learning to live between cultures. People often smiled when they heard him sing, but they also laughed when he said he loved Elvis. They told him it was old-fashioned, that the world had moved on. Sometimes Daniel believed them. Sometimes he wondered if his voice was just a memory that belonged to another life. Standing backstage now, Daniel felt that old doubt returning. His hands were steady, but his thoughts were not. He could hear the crowd beyond the curtain, and somewhere out there sat Simon Cowell, Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Sofia Vergara. Their names carried weight. Their faces were known everywhere. Daniel reminded himself that they were people too, people who listened, people who felt. He closed his eyes and thought of his father's voice, low and warm, singing in the dark. The stage manager gave a quiet signal. Daniel walked forward, the curtain opening slowly, like a breath being taken. The lights brightened, and the room became huge. He could feel thousands of eyes settle on him, curious, unsure. He wore a simple black jacket, not a costume, not a copy. He was not trying to become Elvis. He was trying to honor him. "Hello," Simon Cowell said, leaning slightly forward. "What's your name?" "My name is Daniel Reyes," Daniel replied. His voice was calm, though his chest felt tight. "And where are you from?" Sofia Vergara asked, smiling gently. "I'm from the Philippines," Daniel said, and a small ripple of applause moved through the crowd. Simon raised an eyebrow. "And what will you be singing for us today?" Daniel paused. He felt the weight of the moment, the need to be honest. "I'll be singing an Elvis Presley song," he said. A few surprised sounds came from the audience. Daniel added softly, "This song is for my father." Something shifted then. It was small, almost invisible, but it was there. The room leaned in, just a little. The music began slowly. A familiar melody floated into the air, warm and gentle. Daniel closed his eyes for the first line, letting the sound rise naturally. When he opened them again, his voice filled the theater, not loud, not forced, but steady and rich. It carried the tone of Elvis, yes, but it also carried something else. It carried distance. It carried longing. It carried love that had learned how to live with loss. The audience grew quiet. Phones lowered. Breathing slowed. Daniel's voice moved through the song like a careful traveler, never rushing, never showing off. He sang as if he were back in that small room, his father nearby, listening. Each word landed softly, but it stayed. Simon Cowell sat back in his chair, his expression unreadable at first. He watched closely, listening beyond the notes. Heidi Klum placed a hand over her chest without realizing it. Howie Mandel stopped smiling and leaned forward, his eyes focused. Sofia Vergara's face softened, her usual bright energy replaced by something tender. Halfway through the song, Daniel felt a change. The fear loosened its grip. His shoulders relaxed. He trusted the silence between lines. He trusted the pauses. He let the song breathe. In that space, the audience breathed with him. There was a moment near the end where the music pulled back, leaving Daniel's voice almost alone. It was fragile there, honest and exposed. He did not push it. He let it be small. That choice made it powerful. Somewhere in the audience, someone wiped away a tear. Somewhere else, someone smiled through one. As the final note faded, Daniel held still. He did not bow. He did not move. The silence stretched for a heartbeat, then another. And then the theater erupted. Applause crashed forward, loud and full, rising to its feet. Cheers filled the air, wrapping around Daniel like a wave. He opened his eyes fully now, stunned, breathing fast. Simon Cowell stood up slowly. He did not speak right away. When he did, his voice was measured. "That was not an impression," he said. "That was a connection." He paused, choosing his words. "You didn't try to copy Elvis. You understood him. And more importantly, you understood the song." Daniel felt his throat tighten. Heidi Klum wiped at her eyes. "It felt like a story," she said. "Like we were invited into something very personal." Howie Mandel nodded. "I've heard that song many times," he said. "I didn't expect to hear it like that again." Sofia Vergara smiled warmly. "Your voice is calm," she said. "It makes people feel safe." Daniel listened, overwhelmed. He thought that was the end, that the moment had already given him more than he had hoped for. Then Simon Cowell looked down at the desk. His hand rested near the golden buzzer. The audience sensed it before it happened. The energy shifted again, sharper this time, electric. "You know," Simon said slowly, "sometimes we're reminded why these songs last. Why they travel across oceans. Why they find new voices." He looked at Daniel. This was one of those moments. The sound of the golden buzzer exploded into the room, showering the stage in gold. Confetti rained down, bright and warm, catching the light as it fell. The crowd screamed, jumping, clapping, celebrating. Daniel stood frozen for a second, then covered his face with his hands. He laughed and cried at the same time, overwhelmed by joy he did not expect to feel so fully again. The judges stood, applauding. The gold continued to fall, settling on Daniel's shoulders, in his hair, at his feet. It felt unreal, like stepping into a dream that someone else had written. Later, backstage, the noise faded. The confetti was gone. The lights were softer again. Daniel sat quietly, holding a small piece of gold paper between his fingers. His phone buzzed with messages from home, from friends, from people who had watched from far away. He did not answer right away. Instead, he closed his eyes and imagined his father's voice, singing along, smiling. He felt a sense of peace settle in his chest. The problem that had followed him for so long, the fear that his voice did not belong, began to loosen its hold. He understood now that honoring the past did not mean staying in it. It meant carrying it forward, gently. The journey ahead was still uncertain. There would be challenges, expectations, noise. But Daniel felt ready. He had learned that quiet strength could fill a room, that simplicity could move hearts, that truth did not need to shout. As he stood to leave, he took one last look at the stage through the open curtain. It looked the same as before, but he was different. He walked forward with calm steps, carrying his song with him, knowing it would always find its way home.